In a dusty corner of an African town, the sound of metal striking metal echoed through the air. It came from small roadside workshops built from scrap wood and rusted sheets. These workshops were run by black African workers, men who survived by repairing motorcycles, fixing old cars, mending engines, and doing any labor that could earn a few coins. They were poor, but skilled. Some repaired broken motorcycles with worn tools, kneeling on the ground for hours under the burning sun. Others worked beneath damaged vehicles, their hands covered in oil and dirt, fixing engines that barely functioned anymore. A few pulled carts, carried spare parts, or cleaned machinery owned by white English masters. Every task was heavy, every day exhausting. Above them stood the white English rulers. White overseers controlled the town's labor. They owned the garages, the transport routes, and the supply chains. Black African workers were allowed to work only under their command. Payment was unfair, often delayed, and sometimes denied completely. Complaints were answered with threats. Mistakes were answered with violence. One mechanic, Samuel, spent his days repairing motorcycles that white officials used to travel across the region. His hands were skilled, but scarred. He worked from sunrise until nightfall, fixing engines, changing chains, welding broken frames. When a bike failed again, he was blamed, no matter the cause. White overseers shouted orders in harsh tones. If Samuel worked too slowly, he was beaten. If a repair failed, he was humiliated in front of others. Fear ruled the workshops. Silence became survival. Nearby, other black Africans worked on cars and trucks. They lifted heavy engines without safety equipment. Oil burned their skin. Accidents were common. Injured workers were replaced without care or compensation. Their suffering meant nothing to those in control. Young boys assisted in workshops, handing tools, pumping air into tires, cleaning parts. Childhood disappeared early. Learning a trade was not a choice, it was forced survival. Girls carried water, cleaned workshops, and cooked for workers and overseers alike. Despite the cruelty, the workers continued. They had families to feed. Hunger was a stronger enemy than fear. At night, Samuel returned to his small home, his body aching. He washed grease from his hands, but the exhaustion remained. He remembered stories from his father, stories of freedom, of land owned by Africans, of work done with dignity. Those memories felt distant, yet they kept hope alive. White English rulers believed control meant ownership. They controlled labor, movement, and opportunity, but they could not control memory. They could not erase skill. Every repaired engine, every fixed motorcycle was proof that black African hands built and sustained the world around them. Quiet resistance lived in small acts. Workers shared knowledge secretly. They helped one another without permission. They repaired tools after hours. They dreamed of independence. The town survived on African labor. Every vehicle that moved, every machine that functioned, did so because of black African workers. Yet they remained invisible, undervalued, and oppressed. Still, they endured. Samuel looked at his hands one night, hands shaped by labor and pain. He understood something deeply. Oppression could break bodies, but not purpose. As long as his hands could work, they could also rebuild a future. The white rulers believed power was permanent. History would prove them wrong. Because the story of Black Africa is not only of suffering, but of skill, endurance, and unbroken spirit.